So I know you were also heavily involved in CGIT. So I'm wondering if you could talk a bit about that experience and maybe if there's a connection to what you learned through that to your ability to do the work you did in Alert Bay.
Good question, and I think, yes, you're right. There probably is. I hadn't thought of it that way before. When I was a teenager, when we were back in Toronto, well, no, actually it started before that. My first year at CGIT, I was in Ottawa, and I had a wonderful leader who just really inspired me, and really, I think, gave me the first inklings that I had some leadership ability. And then when I went to Toronto, we went to a local church, which was just very ordinary. I wouldn't say it was very inspirational at all in terms of the worship services on Sunday, but my parents believed strongly that you should go to the church, the parish where you were living. And so it was CGIT that saved me, really. I am quite convinced I would not still be in the church if it weren't for CGIT.
Wow.
Because I developed a lot of friends. And I have to say, there was a negative experience involved in it too, in that we had quite a large group, and the head leader disappointed me greatly. I thought a lot of her when I was 13 and 14, and then I think it was about the year I was 15, and I was taking more and more leadership in terms of our local group, and also I was on the CGIT Council for 1 or 2 years, I think, in high school, the Toronto Area Council, and I went to camp and so on. And this particular leader really disappointed me, and we were practicing for a pageant, and her daughter was involved too, and she reamed out her daughter with language that I just, as a 15-year-old, could not believe. I was just right in front of everybody on the chancel steps, and I remember going home, crying all the way home, just feeling so upset. And when I got home, Claire, who had been this wonderful leader that I had liked when I was 12 in Ottawa, she and her new fiancé were there for tea. So my mother sort of took me to the bedroom and heard my distress, and I came back and had tea with them. And I got a very beautiful letter from my father, who that night had to go to Chicago on business. And I got a letter which I still cherish and keep, saying that, and talking a lot about qualities of leadership and also one's ability to rise above situations. And the final tenure of the lesson, or the letter, pardon me, was that no matter what happens, that we are loved and God is with us. And I think he was proud of the fact that I could sort of rise to the occasion, as we were saying, and not give any indication to our guests that that's how I was feeling. So that was a very powerful lesson brought out of a negative experience, and I've always sort of carried that probably in the back of my mind, of the importance of being leaders and setting examples, but also that you can rise above difficult encounters, because I have to say that many times in my life in the church, I have been very disappointed and let down by people mainly. But as my dad said, people let you down, but God doesn't.
Right. Well, that's a good message. You also mentioned that when you were in CGIT, that's when you started understanding a bit of your leadership abilities. And so I wonder if you might expand on that a little bit more, maybe what you discovered about yourself in terms of leadership and how it maybe formed you. Not that I'm trying to focus on CGIT, but I know it was a big part of your
It
youth.
was of those early years, yes.
Yeah.
And I taught Sunday school too, and I'm sure my younger brothers and sisters would say I was actually bossy rather than a leader, and I'm sure I was. And I think my understanding of leadership has changed over the years, and I think a lot of that changed too in Alert Bay when I team taught with Hilda Seawood, and we had the experience of being such close friends. We were similar in age, just still in our late 20s, I guess. She had 9 children and I had 2. And but we had a lot in common, and mainly that we loved the children, and we were delighted in what they were learning. But we got so we could look at each other across the room and know who was going to handle it and that kind of thing. So that was a great experience. So that also taught me about teaming and leadership too.